VOA, 24th of July 2023, the U.S. dismisses China's denial of UN accusations of arms transfers to Myanmar. Against the wishes of the people of Myanmar, China sponsored and oversaw the coup in that country. China must bear responsibility and pay the price. Despite China's objections to conclusions that Beijing has been providing guns to Myanmar's military, which has used them to suppress resistance groups since its coup in 2021 forcibly, the United States is supporting the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in Myanmar's report. According to a State Department spokesman who talked to VOA's Korean service on Friday, the United States firmly supports the Special Rapporteur's mission and his efforts to shed light on the human rights situation in Myanmar. The comments were made in response to China's objection to Tom Andrews' UN report on human rights in Myanmar, released in May. Since the military junta's bloody coup in 2021, according to Andrews' research, Myanmar's military has acquired weaponry and related supplies from China and Russia worth at least $1 billion. When Sky TV inquired about China's investment in Myanmar and arms supplies to the junta during the routine daily press briefing by China's Foreign Ministry on July 18, the item was brought up. According to Mao Ning, a spokeswoman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, the Special Rapporteur overstepped his mandate. The report contained false information and smears against the normal arms trade between sovereign nations, she continued. China vehemently rejects it. We have urged the Special Rapporteur to maintain objectivity and fairness, adhere fully to his mandate, and stop advancing any political agenda. According to a UN report titled The Billion-Dollar Death Trade, the international arms networks that enable human rights violations in Myanmar, the Myanmar military imported weapons and supplies worth more than $267 million from Chinese companies, including state-owned companies, out of a total budget of about $1 billion. According to the research, numerous private and state-owned companies registered in China, including Hong Kong, continued to supply the Myanmar military with an extensive array of arms, equipment, and raw materials between October 2021 and December 2022. According to the report, the weapon shipments included jets, attack planes, improvements for tanks and fighter jets, and raw materials like rubber, steel, aluminum, copper, and copper necessary for making weapons. Expert: China once a friendly country occupied by Chinese people. According to David Maxwell, Deputy President of the Center for Asia-Pacific Strategy, China exports weapons to Myanmar because it wants a friendly country on its southern border to have access to the Bay of Bengal to the Indian Ocean to the east of India. He claimed Beijing had no concern for the human rights of the people in Burma and seeks to export its authoritarian political system around the world to dominate the region. According to Maxwell, to accomplish this goal, China aims to co-opt or coerce international organizations, create economic conditions favorable to China alone, and displace democratic institutions. Former U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence officer and current professor Bruce Bechtel predicted that Myanmar would be considered a pariah to the international community and China would be its only real friend. He continued, China might view that as an advantage because Beijing wants to prevent the emergence of a democratic nation near its border. Indiscriminate use of artillery by the Burmese army financed by China. Since the violent takeover of the democratically elected government led by de facto leader Aung San Suu Kyi in a coup in 2021, Myanmar's military has used lethal weaponry to repress opposition organizations that have resisted its control. In its 2023 World Report, Human Rights Watch noted that the Myanmar military used indiscriminate use of artillery and airstrikes, which has resulted in the deaths and injuries of civilians and the destruction of civilian property. According to Andrews' UN assessment, the military has killed at least 3,500 civilians since the coup, imprisoned 22,000 political prisoners, and forced more than 1.5 million people to flee their homes. According to two villagers, the Myanmar military on Friday claimed to have killed 14 people in the village of Sonchong in the Sagaing area during a raid to look for the commanders of the People's Defense Force, according to AFP and The Guardian. The Myanmar Defense Ministry and two state-run banks that the military used to buy weapons were subject to penalties in June by the U.S. Treasury. According to the Treasury, Myanmar Foreign Trade Bank and Myanmar Investment and Commercial Bank gave the state-owned Myanmar Oil and Gas Enterprise access to foreign markets to generate funds for acquiring weapons and supplies.